And we are joined by Jim Bell, Professor of Planetary Science at Arizona State University. Good to have you with us.
Good to be on the show. Thank you.
So, of course, the build-up was extraordinary, wasn't it? And once touchdown was confirmed, mission control erupted in cheers and celebration. We saw it there. What were you thinking as you watched and waited through those 7 minutes of terror and then, of course, that first image of Mars from the InSight lander?
Oh, my gosh, Rosemary. It's so hard to try to imagine working on a project with a team of people for many years, some people working for a decade or more, and it all comes down to this one focus point. You know, where is it going to survive? Is it going to crash? Will all of your work go up in smoke, literally? So that the tension was just real visceral among those folks. But boy, there's a lot of happy Martians around the world today, that's for sure.
Yeah, and of course, you know, I was watching it. It was palpable, you know, just waiting to see what would happen. Could it go wrong? Could it work? And now, of course, that NASA has successfully landed the Mars probe. What comes next? What all might we learn over the next 2 years of studying and gathering data on the red planet?
Right. Well, it's this particular mission is a lander. It's not a rover, so it's not going to drive around. It's just going to one spot, a very carefully selected spot where there's a lot of sort of bedrock in this part of Mars. And the idea is to do a geophysics experiment, a seismology experiment, search for Mars quakes and search for evidence that that Mars might still be active in its interior. We don't really know. And NASA, with European colleagues heavily involved in this mission, will deploy a very sensitive seismometer on the planet Mars and search for evidence of internal activity. There's also a small like drill kind of device called a mole that will go down into the subsurface, as you mentioned, and measure how much heat is coming out from underneath the subsurface. So lots of us think that there might be water deep underground on Mars, maybe liquid water. We know there's ice. In order to figure out if it's ice or water, we need to figure out how warm it is down there, and that's what that heat probe will do.
And how significant is all of this, and what would you say to those critics who suggest the money spent on this mission would be better directed at problems confronting planet Earth?
Well, I mean, that's many people do feel that way. In an absolute sense, it's a very small fraction of in the U.S. NASA's budget is 0.4% of the entire U.S. budget, so it's a small fraction of our national wealth. And I think it's important for us to be looking outward, looking at other planets in our solar system to learn about our own planet, as well as to rewrite the textbooks, to educate kids, to give teachers the materials they need to help our kids learn about math and science and geology and astronomy and how our world works and how other worlds work. I personally think it's a great investment, small fraction of national wealth for these visionary kinds of exploration adventures. And you know, those of us who work with NASA feel it's really important to give back, to make sure we communicate what these space probes are doing and why it's important.
Jim Bell, I know you had a very exciting day. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate hearing.
All right. Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate it.
Take care.